Classic Restos is proudly brought to you by Shannon's Insurance, Penrite Oil, Hare and Forbes Machinery House, and Pace Farm Eggs. Hello and welcome to another episode of Classic Restos. But before we go any further, here is this. Shannon's offer us as enthusiasts just so much more. Classic bikes, cars, trucks. Bundle it all together with your house and contents and receive a multi-policy discount. Call Shannon's on 134646 for a quote. Sign up for the Shannon's Club. Interact with others. List your car club. Find events and so much more. The Shannon's Club truly is your garage at shannons.com.au. For oil, coolants and additives, choose Penrite. They have stood the test of time. Established 1926. Australian owned, Australian made. Oil with more zinc for older style engines. No matter what the engine, no matter what the application. Contact the Penrite Technical Assistance Team 7 days a week at penriteoil.com.au. Oil right, use Penrite, simply a better class of oil. For some of the largest range of tools for all trades and DIYs, don't go past Hare and Forbes Machinery House. Established 1930, with branches around Australia and New Zealand. Their showrooms will have you browsing for hours, and no matter where you are, you can buy online at machineryhouse.com.au. From a garage jack through to a lathe, Hare and Forbes has the range. machineryhouse.com.au. On this week's episode of Classic Restos, working in conjunction with Carlisle Events, I return to Pennsylvania, United States of America, to bring you one of the most opulent motoring events that you will ever see. Welcome to the 2015 Hershey Concours d'Elegance. In a way, this event highlights the untouchables, the vehicles that the average person would never have the privilege to own. These are the top-end vehicles. Vehicles that belonged to people steeped in wealth back in a time when most of the world was on its knees. They are elegant, they are bold, some feature performance, and all feature style. These vehicles share in common as most the ability to be an extension of one's persona. These amazing time capsules represent an era where the person, not unlike jewellery, used to wear their car. These vehicles made a statement. You were successful. You were in the elite. This event is modelled after the finest of European and American concours d'elegance. The Elegance is an automotive garden party featuring the world's finest collector vintage and antique cars, arrayed around the manicured formal gardens of the Hotel Hershey. Car owners and those who adore their cars gather for a day of mutual admiration and relaxed camaraderie, while someone like myself turns up and produces a TV episode. With me now, the pleasure of having Mark Lazewski, the Executive Director of the AACA Museum at Hershey. Hello, Mark.
Fletch, how are you doing?
Wonderfully well. What a turnout here today. You've brought cars here from the museum. It's just a five-star every step of the way, isn't it?
Absolutely. You know, I wear several hats at this event. I'm one on the board, I'm on the card selection committee, I'm also one of the charity recipients, which is really good, and I get a chance to bring out one of the museum cars. So we brought a wonderful 1911 Stevens Duryea.
We're going to see that in just a moment, but right now, what's your thoughts on this year's event here at Hershey?
Well, the Elegance at Hershey this year at number 5 is just spectacular. I mean, the show field is better than it's ever been. It's bigger than it's ever been. We were very lucky to have a few more spaces open up, so we've got amazing cars this year. We've got everything from early 1900s to 1970. We've got Frank Sinatra's Maserati here. We've got the 007 Goldfinger Aston Martin here. We've got the Marx Brothers Mercedes here from 1928. We've got Mrs. Chrysler's Chrysler here. So we've got the greatest grouping of cars we've ever had.
See, Mark's borderlining a section now of the show where it becomes speechless, because what do you say to that sort of stuff? I mean, that's just totally awesome in every respect.
Absolutely. You know, I've been working as car selection here. I know the cars that are coming. I've been working on them for years. But when you see them arrive, it's just like, you know, ordering everything and it shows up here at your house. So it's great.
Mark, sitting here in all its exuberance, this 1911, a Stevens Duryea. What an incredible thing. What can you tell us about it?
Oh, yeah, they're amazing cars. Of course, this is a big car compared to what Stevens Duryea started with. I mean, they were just little one-cylinder, you know, little buckboards. But, I mean, this is a magnificent car. They were built in Massachusetts. It's a big six-cylinder car with a big, huge progressive transmission. It's got all the bells and whistles, literally the bells and the whistles. It's got a steam whistle on it. It's got a bell on it. It is a great car, and it pulls like a freight train.
We're talking 1911. We're talking over 100 years ago here. What type of person back then would have purchased a vehicle such as this, Mark?
Somebody very wealthy. I mean, you know, all cars back in the day were playthings for the rich, but I mean, these were very expensive cars. That was probably $4,000 back in the day, so very, very high-end car.
You could have literally perhaps bought 5 or 6 houses with that.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think probably the average wage was probably $500 a year.
One lovely unique feature about a vehicle such as this, obviously it's with others at the AACA Museum at Hershey as well. Just tell us quickly about that, Mark.
Well, sure. The AACA Museum in Hershey, Pennsylvania, it's a nonprofit. We've been in business since 2003. We're about 70,000 square feet, and we've got a little bit of everything from early 1890 cars up to fairly new and motor scooters and buses, everything. So it's really a destination place to come.
Certainly one of my favourites, and yes, you can see the AACA Museum on a Fletch tour. Now, a little bit later on, in a few weeks from now, you're going to see a very special episode at the AACA Museum, and we'll keep you posted on that one. Mark, great catching up today. Thank you for coming along, and what do we say about this? Thanks again.
Appreciate it, Fletch. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, great.
Watching the 2015 Concourse to Elegance episode here at Hershey, Pennsylvania. It's thanks to Shannon's Insurance, Penrite Oil, Hare and Forbes Machinery House, and Pace Farm Eggs. Back with more right after this.
I spend a lot of time out here. The RT Charger's the real deal. An E49. Remember A-Charger? I've always got projects on the go, so Shannon's laid-up cover helps protect my restorations. I'm Mopar through and through. It's a passion Shannon's understands. I wouldn't insure my cars and bikes with anyone else.
Shannon's, insurance for motoring enthusiasts. Call 13 46 46 for a quote.
Penrite, Australian-made, family-owned and operated. Make premium quality engine and racing oils, warranty-approved coolants, automatic transmission and manual gear oils, a complete range of engine and fuel additives, heavy duty and industrial products for every application. Visit penriteoil.com for more information. Penrite, Australian made for Australian conditions since 1926.
If you need a new piece of equipment for your workshop, you need Hare and Forbes Machinery House. From a garage jack through to a lathe, Hare and Forbes has the range. And Hare and Forbes Machinery House are Australian owned, established since 1930. You will be greeted by friendly, helpful staff, and you can buy from anywhere online at machineryhouse.com.au. Hare and Forbes Machinery House. Find your closest store at machineryhouse.com.au. Carlisle, home of Carlisle Events, is located in scenic Cumberland Valley, Pennsylvania, and is within a 2 to 3 hour drive of Washington, D.C., Baltimore, New York City, and Philadelphia. This historic town is home to a collection of great restaurants, unique shops, museums, and galleries. Carlisle, surrounded by beautiful mountains and nearby outdoor attractions, allow for hiking along the famous Appalachian Trail, world-renowned fishing, biking, boating, and camping. Other nearby attractions include speedways, auto museums, historic battlefields, amusement parks, breweries to relax in, and more. It's time to start your journey and say that you found it in Cumberland Valley. Find out more at www.visitcumberlandvalley.com and see it on a Fletch tour. Moving through the sensational 2015 Hershey d'Elegance, we have Kathleen now, the Director of Communications. Hello, Kathleen. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Welcome to Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Thank you. This, again, is just such a top event. 5-star, best of the best, vehicles from a time that I'm amazed how some of them were even manufactured back then.
I know, everything is just beautiful, and we're so proud to host this event at the Hotel Hershey, which was built in 1933. So you and I were talking off camera about how some of these cars were also built in that area. So what a fitting setting to host the Elegance at Hershey.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't think there's a more opulent backdrop to any episode of Classic Restos, and I mean that in all sincerity. It's my third return here for the Concours d'Elegance, and I think what makes this event so much different is that a lot of these cars here, the average person, including myself, doesn't know a thing about.
No, that's true. But what's wonderful is you're able to stop and talk with the car owners themselves, and they want to talk to you about their cars. They're very proud of them, and they're happy to be here as well, and they love that this event generates such excitement. I mean, look at the crowd that we have today. Yeah. So it's a wonderful event.
Absolutely. I mean, down to little things like the period-correct clothing, people dressing in theme. It's all about it, which makes up this garden party.
It does. It does feel like a garden party. We're here in Mr. Hershey's garden. He actually built these gardens in the 1930s, and he and his wife had an affinity for roses. So as people walk around, they get to see different flowers, including some of the roses. Yes. But again, we're so happy that this is the backdrop for this annual event.
Kathleen, there's no doubt about it that Milton Hershey was the Henry Ford of chocolate.
Yes, that's true. That's true. And what a lot of people don't know is he had a lot of failures before he had success with his chocolate business.
Boy, I can relate to that.
So he tried caramels, he tried other confections, but chocolate he was the first person that made good chocolate for the masses.
He employed a whole town.
He did. I mean, we call this the town that was built on chocolate. And what a lot of people don't realize is that the Hotel Hershey was built during the Great Depression, and he used every resource he could to keep his townspeople employed, including building this wonderful property.
It is amazing, there's no doubt about it. The Hotel Hershey, an amazing place, and you can see it as well on a Fletch tour as well. Kathleen, thanks again for your time and for catching up and looking after us media people here today. Thank you very much.
It's our pleasure, and if you want to hear more about the Hotel Hershey, go to thehotelhershey.com.
With me now I have Chip with an incredible 1955 Imperial. How are you, Chip?
I'm doing great, Fletch. How are you?
Good, thank you. Tell us, how does it feel to own such a car?
Well, I'm a very lucky person because I've always been into Imperials, and this is the ultimate Imperial.
I'm busting to know the history on this. I mean, where did you find it? How was it when you did?
The car was in Palm Springs, California. It was in its original state, had been painted a few times, different colors. This is the original color. And it was ready for a restoration, but it was a good California car without any rust or any real problems.
The colour is stunning. What is it?
It is a special color that was chosen by the man it was built for, K.T. Keller. Wow. I call it Keller Green.
He's an executive of Chrysler.
He's chairman of the board, number one man.
And you've got his car.
Only his car.
What is it with you Americans and these cars you find? It is just, you keep blowing me away every time I talk to you guys, seriously.
Well, sometimes you get lucky. I was in the right place at the right time when it was available.
Now, Chip, tell us, was it a painstaking restoration or did things go fairly smoothly?
There were some things that were a problem. But, 6,000 hours of my spare time later, it was fine.
You had some spare time. That was great. Now, let's look up front. We've got the 331, the early Hemi there, sitting there in all its glory. It's the old line here, no bolt unturned. I mean, what a restoration. Tell us about the Hemi. How does it go?
Well, this Hemi was the stock Hemi that was in the car. Amazingly enough, it ran beautifully at 95,000 miles, and I took it all apart and rebuilt the whole thing, but it runs very, very nicely, as good as it ever could.
We talk about the interior now. Absolutely amazing interior there. I mean, it's just glistening in the sunshine here today. It must be just incredible to drive.
It absolutely is. I mean, this car was hand massaged by Central Engineering for Chairman Keller. It seems to be just a notch above a typical production car in many regards.
If the car's going to be hand massaged, that's why it's come out looking so good.
I would say so, yes. Not only that, I mentioned the engine, I believe, was blueprinted at 95,000 miles. Every tolerance was in the middle of the book tolerance.
Now, Chip, out back, is that a Continental kit or is that a standard part of the car with the wheel covering?
Everything from the rear doors back is unique to this car. It was hand-built, and there were no other Imperials or any other Chrysler made that year, anything like that.
Wherever you look on this car, you never get bored.
No. Well, if you count them, there are 50 pieces of chrome that make up this dashboard. The only unique part about this dashboard is that it is all one color. Production cars were one color in the middle and a different color on the two sides, other than the limousine, which were typically dark gray.
What's the weight of the car, Chip?
I don't know that exactly. A production two-door coupe, which was available, was about 4,500. This has got a lot of things that might make it heavier.
Yeah. Which just equates to just beautiful ride. I mean, it must be just like floating on air.
It absolutely is. And it's been insulated much more so than a production car. Underneath the carpet that you can't see is a diamond-tufted sound barrier that was in this car, and we duplicated it.
Isn't it amazing the features that were available back in 1955? I mean, technology was really starting to kick on then, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I don't know if I mentioned this to you, Fletch, but this car was originally given to Chairman Keller with experimental fuel injection, which gave him some trouble. Yeah. So it was retrofitted by the head of that department, the fuel and exhaust department, with a normal Carter WCFB carburetor.
I love reading the history about early innovations, and as you alluded to with fuel injector with Chrysler, they were all recalled, and then the owners got a 4-barrel intake and a 4-barrel carburetor reinstalled, and everyone was on their way and everyone was happy and they moved on. Right. Imagine if a car manufacturer did that now.
Well, it was kind of embarrassing because Mr. Keller reportedly got stuck. Yeah. And that's not the right thing to do if you're an employee and your chairman is stuck in a car you built.
But Chip, they did the electronics box and they put it near the radiator support frame, and all the mist and rain that came through from the car in front just diffused the whole thing, and it did cause problems, but at least they had a go. It's interesting too, Chip, because in Australia, Chrysler was first with electronic ignition.
Yes, well, they were working on that. I remember my mother had an early 70s, I think it was a Barracuda with electronic ignition. It was the first one I had seen.
Yeah. Chip, lovely talking to you. This is the sort of guy that you could speak to all day. We could turn it into the Chip half hour.
I'm sorry, I'm a little wordy.
That's all right. That's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Nice to meet you, Fletch.
You too. You can see yourself travelling with us to the United States of America in 2016. Have a look at this.
You deserve a Fletch tour. See the amazing Ford, GM and Chrysler Nationals at Carlisle events, along with museums and private collections in beautiful Pennsylvania, USA. Then it's the Motown city of Detroit and its region, taking in more die-hard stuff with incredible history. Rounding off with the Woodward Dream Cruise, the largest moving car cruise in the world.
One of the best things about a Fletch tour is you're really looked after.
It's something I've always wanted to do.
Very well organised. The tour company that put it together was great.
Go to classicrestos.com.au and click on the Fletch Tours icon for more information. Hope you're enjoying today's show. Back with more after this.
In 1926, Australia's Penrite Oil Company was established. Almost 90 years of research, development and refining under the harsh Australian conditions has made Penrite Oil what it is today. Precision, performance, reliability and protection. Championship winning products. Trust Penrite.
We've always had a few cars. They're all special. The T-Bird.
Oh, that's mine.
The Combi for when we want to get away. The XR8.
It's going to be a classic.
They're all insured with Shannon's.
We've also got Shannon's Home and Contents cover,
which helps protect our automotive collectibles, tools and memorabilia in the home and garage. If you're motoring enthusiasts like us, it's got to be
Shannon's.
Shannon's. Insurance for motoring enthusiasts. Call 13 46 46 for a quote.
If you need a new piece of equipment for your workshop, you need Hare and Forbes Machinery House. Hare and Forbes Machinery House have showrooms around Australia and New Zealand that will have you browsing for hours. See the largest range of industrial and workshop DIY tools. You will be greeted by friendly, helpful staff, and you can buy from anywhere online at machineryhouse.com.au. Hare and Forbes Machinery House. Find your closest store at machineryhouse.com.au. A lot of people come up to me and they say, Fletch, you know a lot about cars. Well, let me tell you something. When you turn up here, it makes me feel as though I know nothing. Welcome to today's show, Mark.
Well, thank you.
Mark, this behind us, tell us what it is and how it was created.
This is a 1948 Daimler DE36 drophead. It's got custom coachwork by Hooper of England, and it's a convertible built on a limousine chassis. It's 6,000 pounds. It's enormous. It's enormous.
To drive it, I mean, does it scare you? I mean, obviously it gets trailered a lot of places. Does it ever see the street?
You know, I've had the car about 7 years, and I've driven it on and off the trailer to shows. I drive it when I'm at a show, I go cruising around. But it's not the car that when I go to my office, I go, I think I'm going to take the Daimler out for the evening and go to dinner.
You're not going to find this in the car park at Walmart, right?
No.
But Mark, how was it created? Who incepted the vehicle?
It's called the Green Goddess, and Lady Docker had it designed. There were actually 7 of them built. They were all basically custom coachwork. They were designed and sold to very wealthy people. They weren't transportation. They weren't built for some guy to go, as you said, to Walmart. They were built for royalty. They were built as it's almost like a concept, It's like a lot of the cars from the 30s that you saw that were built for the concourse. This was built as a design experiment and was built to make a statement.
Down to the aesthetics too, the Art Deco dash, the way that that's set out. I mean, you can just look at that and you can just feel the depth of style and charm that was created to come up with that.
Well, not only style and charm, there's a lot of beautiful cars, but when you look at the coachwork, the materials, the wood, the leather, the metal, the glass headlight covers, I mean, every part of this car is overbuilt.
Now, what powers it up front, Mark?
It's a straight 8. And, it's a limousine chassis, so it's got an enormous amount of power, a lot of torque. It drives beautifully.
Mark, thank you so much for being on today's episode and bringing something like this to Concourse, to Elegance. And when you get around an event such as this, it's soon, it's easy to see why they do call it the Concourse.
Thank you very much.
Through this opulent event as it is, we have William. Hello, William.
How are you today, Fletch?
I'm good. Now, the car behind us, I've just got one question for you.
Ask away.
What is it?
It's a 1934 Hispana Suiza K6. They manufactured 4 of them in this Fernandez and Darren body. There's only 3 known to exist, and it's a pretty spectacular car.
Now, why didn't I know that? Again, it's one of these high top-end cars that, I can't stop thinking about how, back in the time, people actually afforded these things.
I couldn't tell you either because I wasn't alive then. But it is a spectacular car, like most of the cars here today. Just all one-of-a-kind, custom hand-built cars. I mean, just spectacular.
Well, William, what category are we sitting in here? I mean, is this a top-end car in terms of luxury? Is it a performance car? Is it a bit of a sportster? What actually is it?
I think it would be more of a sports luxury car. The steering is very light, large brakes, it stops great. It's a nice 6-cylinder engine that has twin plugs.
Explain that for us.
Well, what they do is they have a spark plug on the intake and the exhaust side of the cylinder head. So when the fuel was put into the combustion chamber, it is ignited evenly in that combustion chamber. A whole lot more performance, power, and it's just innovative. They talked about this as being something new in the late 80s and early 90s, but yet here it was on a 1934 car.
That's amazing stuff, isn't it? It really is. William, thank you so much for being on today's episode of Classic Restos.
Thank you.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed just some of the 2015 Hershey Concours d'Elegance here at Hotel Hershey in Pennsylvania, United States of America. Believe me, this event is 5-star every step of the way and truly is unbelievable. In the meantime, classicrestos.com.au. That's the website that you need for the DVD boxed sets of the show, Classic Restos merchandise, contact information on joining us on a Fletch tour in 2016, and of course contacting the major sponsors as well. As I say at the end of every show, until next week, please ride and drive safe. I'm Fletch, signing off from Hershey in Pennsylvania, United States of America, and I thank you very much for watching. You can like and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/ClassicRestosTV and watch catch-up episodes at shannons.com.au. Classic Restos is proudly brought to you by Shannons Insurance, Penrite Oil, Hare and Forbes Machinery House, and Pace Farm Eggs.